Come on in, honey. The lantern's lit, the veil's a little thin, and the wind's been dying to carry a few secrets your way. Welcome to Raven's Ramblings, where the shadows walk beside us and the past never stays buried, and a good spell can speak louder than a sermon. I'm Raven Nightingale, part healer, part hellraiser, keeper of the old ways and ghost stories alike. So pull up a chair and listen close. You never know what might be whispering in the dark. Welcome back, my fellow magical beings, to another episode of Raven's Ramblings. I am your host, Raven. So, and today, before we get started, I have one thing I have to show y'all. For those of you actually watching on YouTube, anyway, I got a birthday present at work the other day, and it is the most adorable thing. Look at this. It's like a tiny raven with a little purple witch hat, and the my dear friend who gave this to me made this. Isn't this look at his little feet? How cute is that? How cute is that? His little hat comes off. That's adorable, right? I mean, holy shit, that's amazing. Like, I don't know if she actually listens to my podcast or not, or watches my YouTube video, but this is for my friend. I'm not gonna say her name because she may not want her name on here, but how fucking cute is this? Right? Okay. Where was I? Sorry, I got distracted. I got it over here by my little mixing board thing, so I can. It's my little mascot now. Where were we? Ah, today. What are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to dive deep into the flaming world of candle magic. So, candle magic, whether you are a seasoned witch or just starting to explore this stuff, it is an essential tool in, I would say, almost every witch, because not every witch uses candle magic. That's just a generalization, but the majority of them do. I do. That's like one of my biggest magical tools that I use all the time. So, grab your favorite candle, get comfy, and let's light up some magic. Okay? So, what exactly is candle magic? Well, at its core, candle magic is the practice of using candles and spell work to, of course, help bring about those intentions, those specific outcomes that we're trying to accomplish. Now, we all know that candles in some form have been around for centuries, probably longer than that, honestly. Um, lighting up our homes are basic rituals, but when we're talking about magic, okay, when we're talking about our actual ritual practices, um, those candles are much more than just a source of light. Those are very powerful things because fire is one of our four classic elements, right? Earth, air, water, fire. It's associated with the south. Well, this may not be south for you, but for me, that's south going that direction. Um, and it's associated with transformation, illumination, and energy. A candle's flame is very symbolic of the spark of life, okay? Which is, I mean, it's the root of everything, right? Supposedly. Guess it depends on who you ask. Yeah, what ifs. So that transformative energy that fuels our spells and brings our intentions to life. That- I like jumped around on that comment, didn't I? Let me read my note again. A candle's flame is like the spark of life and that transformative energy that fuels our spells and brings our intentions to life. So, in essence, think about that little fireball, that little flame as just pure willpower. Okay? Like just willpower in that little tiny flame. So we're talking about really big, powerful magic in a very small thing, right? And think about how powerful fire is. It can destroy everything. It can completely transform things. We use fire to make everything in our world in some essence. So before that gets too deep, we're going to talk about the really fun part of candle magic, which is my favorite, the colors. Candle colors play a huge role in determining the kind of magic that you're trying to do. So it's like picking a perfect spell ingredient, but kind of better because you kind of get to choose, really. Now, there are some basics to the colorings and what is corresponding with what, like everything in witchcraft. There are the guidelines that you can follow if you like. Now, I'm, like I said before, a chaos person. So sometimes those guidelines don't apply just right to me. So I have to tweak things a little bit to make it my own. But there are still some things that are kind of tried and true, even for me, that I still feel the way those standards are. White. White candles. It is a go to for universal magic, period. If you are trying to stick to those correspondences and you do not have the color that you're supposed to have for a specific spell, use a white candle. It's like O negative blood. It everybody can have it. Simple as that. Now white is also good for protection magic and peaceful magic and spiritual healing. Okay. So white does have purposes, but it is also a universal, right? Then you have red. Red is a very strong color, so you want to think of that kind of stuff. So passion, love, strength, courage. It's very good for those I need all the confidence in the world kind of moments. Red is very empowering. Okay. Now, in the same essence, pink is just as powerful, but in a slightly different way. It is about love. It's also about friendship and emotional healing. So it's passionate, but a little bit softer. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So black is our next one. Black, I use black for a lot of things because for me, black is kind of a universal color, right? Now, it is great for banishing. Um, also use it for protection and honestly, a little bit of everything because black is one of my favorite colors. I feel more connected to it, so I use it for more things. Nothing crazy there. But it's amazing as a banishing color to kind of get rid of those bad vibes, curses, hexes, just bad vibrations, energy, that kind of stuff. Okay. Green. I don't use green a whole lot. Um, I recently did use a small green candle for a money bowl spell, but I just don't. I don't know. Green doesn't speak to me that much, but it is great for abundance, for prosperity and growth, those kinds of things. And I the few times I have used green, it's usually for like a money spell or something, some kind of abundance, but I don't do a whole lot of those. So, your mileage may vary with that. Now, gold I have used quite a bit. It is good for wealth and for spiritual power. I have used it more, I think, for like money spells and stuff than I have green. The green one that I used recently, this is a new try for me. I'm not a huge green fan for some reason, which is really weird because I love trees and grass and shit like that, and all that's green, and I don't know. Look, I can't explain my brain. I ain't figured it out yet in 40 years, and I sure ain't gonna do it anytime soon. Next color, blue. Blue I use a lot. Blue is very calming, very peaceful. Um, some say an emotional healing. Now, I also use it for healing spells. Blue is very healing. Of course, green is kind of healing too. Now that I think about it, I think I have used green for some like health healing. Y'all, see, this is my problem. I don't write shit down. this is why I'm chaos because I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and what feels right today may feel a little bit different tomorrow. So that's why I try to make notes on the standards of, what people out there use so I could pass that information along and then throw my little tidbits of the craziness that I do on top of that. So you kind of get those guidelines and standards, but also see that it is perfectly okay to do your own thing, walk your own path. And sometimes it works perfectly. And my brain flows with my videos and my audio and stuff. And sometimes, like tonight, I got 15 squirrels and they're all at a rave right now. So everybody hold on. So those are the main colors. I use almost all those colors. I also have like oranges and yellows and things like that. And it just depends on what I'm trying to accomplish, right? Like, hold on, I've got some more notes up here. Oh, orange. Here we go. Orange is good for creativity, for success, for attraction, that kind of stuff. Yellow. I don't use a lot of yellow. I know. I probably should, but I just don't like the color yellow. I don't like bright colors. Number one, that's part of my hang up. But yellow candles are good for happiness and for confidence and mental clarity. Shit, maybe I should use some yellow candles. Mm, I'm gonna put a pin in that. Sorry, y'all didn't know what you were signing up for this episode. Where was it? Oh, here's my other note. Purple. I do have a small purple candle here and there that I have not dove off into, and I need to. It is good for spirituality, for intuition, for psychic work, that kind of stuff. And since I've been working with my tarot cards, because I have several decks, but I'm still trying to find that one that just speaks to me, and I think I have found it. But learning tarot and trusting myself that I know what I'm talking about are two different things. Like like I know I can look at it and go, I think this is blah blah blah, and I'm like, but is it? And then I have to look it up, and then it's a whole vicious cycle, and I think, well, shit, apparently I did know what it was. So maybe I should burn a purple candle along with my yellow candle, because then I would have my spirituality, intuition, psychic work, and my mental clarity all at the same time. Look at there. Look at there. Should have got my shit together. Okay. Brown. Brown's a good candle. It's good for stability, for grounding. It's good for a home blessing, that kind of stuff. Silver. I do have a couple of silver candles that I usually use as a representation of the goddess. It's great for lunar magic, for intuition, for feminine energy, that kind of stuff. So, just depending on what you're trying to do is going to determine what color candle you want to go for. All right. And it's not that you have to use those specific colors. It's just that those using those standards can amp up your intention and amp up your magic. Okay. Because that's kind of what the tools are all about. You have that magic in you and you are putting that magic out into the world, into the universe. And these are the tools that are going to help amplify those things. Okay. Make sense? Cool. So when you're ready to manifest some magic, think about what you're really trying to do. Think really hard about it. Like, I need to think really hard about some mental clarity and probably burn a yellow candle. Yeah. Uh, and so use those colors to your advantage. Now, if you look at those candles laying out in front of you and green says something different to you, then use it for what it says to you because it is about using your intuition on it. Your intention with the color green is going to be different, and that's okay. Do it. It's not going to explode in your face because you used a different color than what these standards are. It's not. Make it your magic, make it yours. That's truly the important thing. That is what is going to make your magic the most powerful, is listening to your gut, listening to your intuition, and using that instead of going word for word what somebody says. If word for word speaks to you and that's what makes sense and that's what feels good to you, then fabulous, do it. But if it just kind of, then tweak it, make it yours. That's the important part, period. And you can always use two or three colors if you're trying to do something specific, and combining those can amp up the power even more. Yeah. So now we've got our candle color. So we've kind of set our mood because we know what we're going for. We know we've got the right color that we need for the specific thing. So now we're going to set our intention with that candle. Okay. Because without a focused intention, your spell's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to kind of flutter around you. And we need to push this out into the universe and make this happen. So you've got to know exactly what you're going to want to bring with this spell, right? With your candle spell. Have that intention in mind. Let's start by visualizing the outcome of that spell. Picture it in your mind as clearly as you possibly can. Feel it, see it, taste it, smell it if you can. Because the more detail that you can put into that visualization, the stronger your spell is going to be, right? You are truly willing these things into existence. So once you have that visualization, if I could speak tonight, that'd be great. Write it down, you know. And not everybody's a fan of journaling. I I I'm I want to be a fan of journaling, but too many squirrels at a rave. So you don't have to write like a full page of what you're trying to do. A simple affirmation or a petition can do wonders. And it can be super, super simple. Like, I am attracting financial abundance in my life, or I am worthy of a deep healing love, those kinds of things. And then recite that affirmation with power and with focus. All right. Because once again, your intention is what is going to fuel this magic. So, see it, feel it, hear it, taste it, smell it, all the things, all the things. Make it clear and precise in your head. So, let's talk about a little bit of prep work. It's not always the fun part. It can be very important, though. Okay. You need to cleanse your candles. Look, everything magical that I bring into my altar room has been cleansed in some form, whether I have ran it through running water, or I have put it in the freezer, or I have smoke cleansed it, or I have sound cleansed it. Something has happened to shed it of any lingering negative energy, because I don't want somebody else's energy attaching to my spells. Okay, period. And honestly, a little bit of extra spiritual cleansing didn't hurt nobody. All right. Just, and like, it's a candle, it's wax. You can run that sucker under the faucet. It's fine. It'll cleanse it. It's not gonna hurt it. Dry it off with a paper towel. It's perfect. Also gets in a little dust off. Little fun fact there. So now it's time to anoint your candle. And a lot of people feel like this is where the real magic starts. So you're going to anoint your candle with different oils. You can choose those oils according to what your intention is, just depends. Some people like to work with rose oil for love, or patchouli for prosperity, or lavender for peace. Honey, you can use olive oil if you want to. And honestly, I'm a terrible witch, y'all. I don't do this a whole lot. I just don't. It doesn't speak to me the way it speaks to everybody else. I usually will hold my candle and, push my intention into it from my hands to the candle, but I usually don't use a whole lot of oils. And that's just a personal preference because oils get sticky and I have this thing about sticky things. So I avoid that if I can. But if we are going to anoint our candles with oil, we're going to rub that oil from the base to the top. because we are pushing that intention into the candle all the way up to where the wick is. Okay, so we're moving kind of up in that direction. This is like sending the energy upward right into the flame of your desire. Now, some people also carve symbols or words into the wax with a pen or a knife. Now, I have done this a few times, and it would be just something super simple, like a small sigil or a name or what, like power or money or something like that. That's super easy. You can't fuck that up. It'd be fine. And some people would actually go in and carve those things and then have like a darker oil and rub that oil into those letterings or wordings or whatever that they just carved. So it actually stands out a little bit. Personal preference. Okay. So now to the super fun part, the lighting of the candle. Now, when you do this, do it mindfully. Don't just flick the lighter or strike the match and walk away. Focus on that flame. Okay. So as you light it, take a moment and say a chant or say the affirmation that you wrote down or say a prayer. A lot of what we do could be compared to Christian prayers. It is speaking those intentions out loud and pushing them out into the universe. And that's all prayer really is. You can speak directly to the universe or any deities that you work with. You know, something like with this flame, I ignite my intention and draw in all the forces of the universe to help me. Super simple. Okay. The key here is focus. Just be with that flame for a few minutes. Feel your intention merging into that fire. You know, look at that candle, look at that flame, look through that flame to the wick where the two are joined together and see the different colors and shapes that happen with the flickering and stuff. Be with that candle. Me personally, when I do a candle magic spell, once I've lit the candle, I'm going to sit with it and I'm going to hold my hands on the outer parts of where the flame is and feel that energy, feel that heat. And I actually will take it and push it up, whoops, push it up and out into the universe. I hit my mic while I was trying to push my intention up. Sorry about that. Um, but that's kind of how I take that moment of mindfulness and push it out into the world, kind of thing. Okay, because that's part of my focus. So feel that stuff merging with the fire itself. So here are some different interesting little things though. Some people actually focus mostly on the burning process. I don't focus this particular way, but some do. All right. So you've lit that candle, you're sitting back, you're watching it, and sometimes you focus on the way the candle burns. So if a candle burns fast, it often means that the success of your intention or your spell is right around the corner. Sounds good, right? If it burns kind of slow, maybe there's some delays or a sign that some more work is needed to get you to the point where your intention can manifest. That makes sense? Yeah. And like I said, I personally don't adhere to these things, but a lot do. You know, it's perfectly acceptable. If you want to do that, fabulous. Do it. That's what speaks to you, baby. You do it. Watch that flame. If there's no wind around and it's kind of flickering a little extra, that could be indicative of a lot of energy moving around, or even maybe some obstacles that were trying to get in the way of your magic, and the flame is kind of whipping around and pushing it away. Don't worry, just keep your focus on it and power through it. Okay. Some people, and I'd really like to try this one personally. Some people work with like drip spells. So they will take those candles that they've done all these steps with and pick them up and let the candle wax actually drip onto paper or onto another candle and kind of draw a sigil or a symbol that represents their intention. I have not done this, but it sounds fun. I may have to try that, that kind of stuff. So some people, I've said that a lot because there's a lot of leeway. There is a lot of leeway in candle magic. Okay. It really is to each their own. Okay. There's no wrong way to do this unless you are accidentally burning your house down. Please don't do that. Please practice fire safety. Don't leave candles burning by themselves. Behave. Um, what was I doing? Oh, yes. So at the end of the spell, you want to kind of close your ritual. Now, you can do this several ways. You can either let the candle burn all the way down until it snuffs itself out. I do this a lot with my little tea light candles because they're contained in that little metal cup thing, but I also have them sitting in a little thing of sand, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to hurt anything. It's safe. Some people will extinguish the flame by actually snuffing it, like with a little candle snuffer. Mm, I have one, but I don't know where it is because I don't use it very often. I just don't. I do have this little stick one. It's kind of like a snuffer. I don't know if you can see that. And put it, you see it? It has like a little hook on it, and you kind of dip it down in the. You can see all the wax on it now. And you dip it down in the wax and bring that wax up the sides of the wick, and it snuffs the flame out. This is what I usually use. Now, some people are going to tell you that you never, ever, 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 ever blow out a candle that you have just done a spell with because it can scatter your energy. Look, I cannot say that I have never blown out a candle that I just done a spell with because sometimes I have squirreled shit away and I can't find my little wax dipper thing. And sometimes you gotta blow out a candle. And you know what? That spell worked just as good. But I also don't believe that me blowing out that candle is going to scatter my energy because my energy is more potent than me just blowing that candle out. My power is more powerful than me just going and blowing that candle out. But that's just me. Now, I have like taken a folder or something or a piece of paper and waved it at the candle where I'm not actually blowing it. It just fans it out. I've done that. It drives me insane. So sometimes I just blow the candle out. And like I said, my spell works just as good as if I snuffed it out with my little hook thing. So, you do you. Once again, you do you, boo. And don't let nobody tell you any different. After you've done that, you can take a moment to thank the universe, thank the elements, thank any deities that you may have called upon, and then take a moment to reflect. You know, part of the biggest, for me, one of the biggest things in magic is having that trust that your magic has been set in motion. Trust that you know what you're doing. Trust that you have done what you need to do. And trust that you have set your intentions and it will manifest. And that is that leap of faith. Okay? Trust yourself. You got this. So, what happens after your candle has burned or whatever? You can keep the remnants, so the wax or the wick, as like a talisman, or you can dispose of them. I use a lot of tea light candles, so all that's left is the little metal thing and a little tiny wick in the center. So I usually just throw them away. It's going to kind of ground that energy and kind of dissipate it or transmute it. Some people put it in water to kind of release the spell's power. You do whatever feels right for you. Okay. And remember, here's the important thing: if you don't see immediate results, don't worry, don't fret. Candle magic is super simple, but it can take time. All right. And the universe as a whole has its own timeline because sometimes shit is just going to happen no matter what we do. Okay. And remember, no matter what kind of spell you're doing, you have to put in that mundane work also. If you do a spell to have $1 million but won't go work, it's probably not going to happen. You have to put in work with your spell, period. But keep the faith, trust that your spell is working. It's going to be fine. So that's a wrap on today's crazy deep dive into candle magic. Remember that your magic is powerful. Your intentions are powerful. And with the candles, you are working with one of the simplest but most powerful tools out there. Now, if you love this episode or you liked it or you just thought I was a crazy person and you want your friends to hear that this weirdo talking on YouTube and Spotify, like and subscribe, share. If you're feeling great, and leave me a review. That'd be awesome. Help keep the algorithms sending it to other people who might be interested. You know, have a good time with it. It's just candles. Don't burn your house down. Practice fire safety. Y'all, practice fire safety. There we go. My brain's working faster than my mouth. So, keep your candles lit, your intentions clear, and your magic strong. Bye.